In Pursuit of Fools, a folktale from England. There once lived a clever young farmer named Jack, who was engaged to a girl named Molly, a farmer's daughter. One evening, the family invited Jack to stay on for supper when he came to visit Molly. Molly's mother asked her to go down to the cellar and get some cider stored in a barrel. As Molly was pouring out the cider, she looked up at the ceiling. Her eyes fell upon an axe stuck in one of the beams. Perhaps it had been there for a long, long time, but she had never noticed it before. Suddenly, Molly thought, "Soon, Jack and I will be married. Perhaps we will have a son who will grow up to be a man. Just suppose he were to come down here to get cider, as I'm doing now, and this axe fell on his head. It would kill him. Oh God, how terrible it would be." She was so distressed at this thought that she put down the jug, sat on the floor, and began to weep. Meanwhile, Molly's parents and Jack sat at supper, waiting for the cider. When there was no sign of Molly's return, her mother said, "Why is the girl taking so long? Let me go and check on her." When she had descended to the cellar, she was astonished to find Molly sitting with her head in her hands, crying. Beside her, the cider was overflowing onto the floor, as she had forgotten to close the tap. "Why, Molly, what is the matter?" asked her mother. "Oh, Mother," sobbed Molly, pointing a trembling finger at the axe stuck in the beams. "Look at that axe there. Just suppose, if Jack and I, after we get married, have a son who, when he grows up, comes here to get cider, and imagine if that axe were to fall on his head. Wouldn't that be terrible?" "Good heavens!" cried the old woman in horror. "It would be dreadful. Oh, my poor grandson." And she too sat down beside her daughter and began to cry. After some time, Molly's father came down in search of his wife and daughter, and found them both sitting on the floor and crying while the cider ran all over the floor. "What's the matter with you two?" he asked in surprise. Molly's mother replied, "Look at that axe. Just suppose if Molly and Jack were to have a son, and that son, when he was grown up, was to come down into the cellar to get cider, and the axe was to fall on his head and kill him, how dreadful it would be." "Dear, dear, so it would," said the father, and he sat down near the other two and began crying as well. After some time, Jack got tired of sitting alone in the kitchen, so he decided to go down to the cellar and find out what had befallen the others. He found them sitting in a row, weeping bitterly, while the cider flowed on the floor. He turned off the tap and demanded to know why they were crying. Between tears, the trio told him the cause of their grief. When they had finished, Jack burst out laughing and pulled out the axe from the beam. He declared, "I have been to many places and seen many people, but never have I met anyone as silly as you three. Now I'm going on another journey, and only when I find 3 people who are more foolish than you will I come back and marry your daughter." Bidding them goodbye, he set off, leaving them crying afresh because Molly's fiancé had gone. After traveling a long way, Jack reached a village. As he passed a roadside farmhouse, he saw a strange sight that made him stop short. A rickety ladder had been placed against the building, and a man was doing his best to push a cow up the ladder. However, his efforts were unsuccessful, as the cow was resisting with all her might. After watching this bizarre scene for a few moments, Jack was unable to restrain his curiosity any longer. He went up to the man and asked him what he was trying to do. The man wiped his sweaty face and declared, "This cow is the most obstinate creature I've ever seen. There's no hay left in her shed. I've stored some hay on the roof, and I'm trying to make her go up and eat it. But this silly animal just won't climb." Concealing his laughter, Jack suggested, "There's another way to do it. If you'll let me." When the man nodded assent, Jack quickly climbed up the ladder and brought down several bundles of hay to the cow. The man was delighted to find his problem solved so easily. He exclaimed, "You are such a clever man, thank you so much, sir. I wonder why it never occurred to me to do this." "Well, well," said Jack to himself as he took leave of that man and walked on. "Wonders will never cease. I have already found someone more foolish than those three. Jack continued his journey until he reached another village. As it was quite late, he decided to stop at an inn for the night. The innkeeper informed him that as all the rooms are occupied, he would have to share a room with another traveler. Jack readily agreed and found his roommate to be good company. Early the next morning, Jack woke up to a very peculiar sight. His roommate had hung his trousers on the knobs of the cupboard. He then walked to the other end of the room. "What's the fellow up to?" wondered Jack. As he watched, the man broke into a run. He sprinted across the room and took a flying leap at the trousers. Alas, he missed his target and landed with a thud on the floor. With a groan, he picked himself up and massaged his back. Then he limped back to his starting position. He went through the whole routine again, with the same result. "Ooh!" exclaimed the roommate in agony. "Trousers are the most awkward piece of clothing ever invented. What a task it is to get them on. I'm sure I'll break my hip one day." Excuse me," said Jack, almost choking with laughter. "I could show you a less strenuous method of putting on your trousers if you like. You can hold them in your hands and put your legs one after the other in each trouser leg." And he proceeded to demonstrate. The other man watched him in disbelief. "Oh, this is wonderful," he exclaimed. "How clever you are, sir. I could have never thought of such a brilliant way of doing it." "Here is the second idiot," thought Jack, as he brushed away the other's thanks. After some time, he resumed his journey. It was late in the evening, and the full moon had risen when he came to another village. Seeing a great commotion on the banks of the village pond, he paused to see what it was all about. There was a big crowd around the pond. The people were busy dipping into the water with rakes, pitchforks, hooks, and fishing nets, shouting out instructions to one another and looking very anxious indeed. There was so much confusion that Jack could barely make himself heard above the din. Finally, however, he did manage to ask the nearest man what the matter was. The man replied, "It's terrible. The moon has fallen into the pond there. Can you see it bobbing away upon the water? We're trying to rescue it, but it's not coming out." Jack could hardly control his laughter at such stupidity. He tried to explain to the people that what they were seeing was only the reflection of the moon in the water, but they refused to listen to him and shouted at him until he went on his way. "Anyway," thought Jack, chuckling as he walked away, "my mission is fulfilled. I've found not just 3, but several people who are sillier than my Molly and her parents. So I can go back and marry her." He did just that, and the couple lived happily ever after.